Today I'm going to be demonstrating how to lay laminate flooring. What's going on and welcome to today's video. My name is Colton and today I'm going to be demonstrating how to lay laminate flooring. Now there's a ton of laminate flooring videos out there. I wanted to specifically focus on laminate flooring that had a pattern. So there is a print design on this laminate flooring and I wanted to make it look like tile without actually tiling. So there's a couple extra steps you gotta take and there's actually a little bit more waste when taking this approach. Now keep in mind this video is demonstrating just laying the laminate flooring. There is prep, I did removing of baseboards, I removed a toilet. If you wanna see everything that I've done beforehand, you can go ahead and click this link right above and check out other videos that pertain to this specific bathroom renovation. There are also a ton of tools that I use in laying this laminate flooring. I'm not gonna run through all of them right now, but in the description below, I will section out every single tool that I used and try to make it super self-explanatory so you don't get confused. And the time that it took me to complete this project, if you were to go gung-ho, just straight focus on laminate flooring, I would probably say if you're a very handy person, like to do DIY stuff and hands-on, I would plan for no later than a half a day. Again, this is depending on the size of the room that you're doing. If it's your first time or you're doing a larger room, I would probably plan closer to 24 to 48 hours. Make it a weekend thing. It will take a little bit longer if you're the one doing the measuring, the cutting, and all of that other stuff, but it will go really quick. One person dedicated to measuring and installing, and the other person dedicated to cutting. So let's get started.
When laying patterned laminate, I like to take out all the pieces and lay them down on the floor to match up which laminate pieces are the same. This minimizes the chance of having duplicate patterns next to each other. This is the bottom of the laminate, and here's the top of the laminate. Each laminate piece has a tongue and a groove side. Start with the tongue side away from you, and I suggest starting in a left corner and working right. Doesn't really matter what left corner you pick. You may need to cut into your door jambs more once you lay your underlayment. Now before you lay your first board, you want to make sure that you have enough expansion gap all around the perimeter of the area that you're going to lay this laminate floor. The bigger the area that you're laying the laminate flooring, the bigger the gap you'll need. Expansion gap recommended anywhere from 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch. And you also want to make sure this expansion gap is covered by the baseboards or other type of molding. Then measure and draw out pieces that you want to cut from the laminate and go cut those. Try to lay your first full board and make sure you don't cut off the tongue or the lip that you need in order to lock in the next board. If you can't lay another full board, measure out how much laminate board you do need and make sure you measure from the left side of the board with the tongue away from you and make that cut. You don't want to make the cut and cut off the locking mechanism that you need in order to piece all the laminate pieces together. And make sure you choose the most efficient way to cut your laminate pieces. Some pieces allow you to score it with a utility knife and break pretty easily. Others, it's just easier to go get a saw. Now take your second laminate piece, butt it up against your first laminate piece to lock in, angle it at a 45 to 35 degree angle, and tap it down with the rubber mallet. Now a typical laminate flooring job, that laminate piece that you just cut, you would take that and use that as a starting board for your next row. Insert the tongue into the groove at a 45 degree angle and tap down with a mallet. You can see how taking this general approach is a problem because the patterns don't line up, and I wanted to make sure that the pattern lined up to create a tile look. So I cut off a little bit more of the laminate to line up the squares and took that and inserted the tongue into the groove and tapped it down with the mallet. Now really this is just a process of rinse and repeat. Grab a new laminate board, line up the pattern to see if there's any duplications that you do or do not like. Make sure you keep the tongue away from you because that will lock into your previous row that you already installed. Make drawings on pieces that you may need to cut around and go make those cuts. And you may have tricky cuts that you may need like cutting around a toilet, flange, or water line. I would suggest making these tricky cuts with something like a jigsaw, or you can even use an oscillating tool. And when you do need to cut a full laminate board shorter and reuse that piece for a new row, I don't like to reuse a piece that was cut off that's shorter than 6 inches to start off a new row. You really know you're doing a good job when you try to make a tricky cut and it works out perfect. Take another board, lay it down, measure it out, 45 degree angle, and tap it in. I would also suggest using a white rubber mallet. It doesn't leave any marks when you're hammering down your laminate. Now for the laminate around the cabinets. I knew I had a 45 degree angle at the end of the board. Then I wanted to measure the length of the beginning of the 45 degree angle to the point of where I needed to match up the laminate board to the edge of the cabinet. And you can see it worked out perfect. The pattern is right to the edge of the cabinet. So I took my laminate board that had a 45 degree angle and broke off the tongue that would be in the way of the cabinet. Then grabbed another laminate piece, did the same thing to the portion that would hit the cabinet, and kept the rest. Lock these pieces together to make one long laminate piece and lock all that together to the existing laminate pieces that have been previously laid down. When doing these types of cuts, you may need a pull bar, which will help you get a more snug and secure clean look. Measure out the rest of the amount that you need, rinse and repeat, and you do this over and over and over again. You may also want to get this tap block in case you don't have a pull bar. This actually helps the same way the pull bar does in snugging up your laminate pieces, and depending on your room size and what you need to cut around, you may need to use a jigsaw or a multi-tool to cut these weird odd pieces. So hopefully at this point in the video you get the point of needing to cut around maybe around cabinets, a vent cover, 45-degree angles, whatever it may be. Just make sure you're giving yourself enough room for expansion and contraction. Make sure you plan for transition pieces and doorways. I like to leave anywhere from 1.25 inches to 1.5 inches gap from the laminate floor that I'm installing to the neighboring flooring. That will be covered by a transition piece. Grab your air compressor, nail gun, finishing nails, put the baseboards back on, finish the top off with some caulk, and you're done.
Thank you so much for checking out today's video. If you liked what you just watched, consider subscribing, hit that like button, and also share with your friends. If you want to check out other project videos that I've completed in the past, specifically other videos that are tied to this bathroom renovation project, go ahead and click this link right up here. And don't forget to click this icon to subscribe right over here. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.